Hello, everyone. The Vern here. So there were a few comments that were left on our Barbarella episode that I forgot to read during the actual episode itself. So apologize very much for all the commenters. So I'm gonna read them right now. I know I've read one of them on the actual live show, but I'm gonna read a few of them right now. From Threads, Wayne OR said, "It's indulgent and fun. Feels like a sibling to Flash Gordon from 1980." John Rob 5000 says, recently realized it forms a Dino De Laurentiis space trilogy on Barbarella, Flash Gordon, and David Lynch's Dune. And then over on our Facebook group, Crack, Cinema Recall's Awesome Cinematic Club, Scott Davis said, there's a kind of taco shell about her. Love this movie, read the comic, had the posters, pop art goddess. So thank you very much for listening and watching, and please enjoy the rest of our episode with Phillip of Making Tarantino. Later, everyone. Bye. This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. I am the Vern. Thank you so much for listening or watching, maybe doing both at the same time. I don't know, but I appreciate you all very much. Big show today, folks. First time here on the podcast. I have been on his shows many times. Just was recently on there talking about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You'll also hear Mike Despot talking about Switchblade Sisters. It is the one, the only, Phillip Duke from Making Tarantino Podcast. Welcome to the show, Phillip.
Thank you. Yes, it's all the time listening to your show and then being like, man, when am I going to be on? And you and I with our times, like, wait a minute, I can't do this day, I can do this day. And now that I'm available during the day, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And, very excited.
It's great. And it's so I messed up on the time zones because I totally forgot that Arizona, where you live, they don't recognize daylight savings time. And I'm a little bit jealous because of that. Because I wish we did either.
It's glorious. Yeah. But except that I always have to check when I'm doing podcasts. I go, okay, wait, this person's in Pittsburgh. That's 3 hours and then 2 hours different sometime, depending on when. So, yeah.
Very cool. So,
but
great to have you on here. This has been a huge honor for me to have you on the show. And you saw in the description, folks, we are going to be talking about Barbarella, the 1968 movie with Jane Fonda and John Philip Law. We're going to talk a little bit more about this movie. Very excited. Before we do that, as I do with all of our shows, we have a little thing called Rage Corner. Rage Corner, brought to you by the gents over at the Film Rage Podcast. This is part of the show where we rage happily or angrily about movies and stuff we've seen already. And I'm always going to ask the guests this first. Do you have anything you want to rage about?
I think you mentioned it right before we started. And I think my thing is like when you order physical media and you order from a site and it'll be like, okay, that's going to cost, you have to order up to $75 to get free shipping.
Sure.
So you might get a good deal of a $15 movie with $8 shipping and handling. And you're like, well, then it's not worth it. Like, and same thing with some of these new boutique labels. They're like, oh, here's a 4K of Jade. And you're like, oh, let me go check it out. And it's $55 or something. And you're like, well, I can't, I'm not going to do that. It sucks because then you don't buy it. Then you're like, well, I'll just not get it, or I'll find it used somewhere sometime.
Is there like one boutique label that has better deals than another one that you've noticed?
I really like Indicator has they'll have 4 for 20 or 3 for 30 or whatever. They're a British label, so you're paying a little bit more money, but they have all kinds of like special features. Like it's packed. Like the back of the disc doesn't say like here's what the movie's about and here's all the. It just says special features that are like big old long thing. So it's really good. I was looking for one that I had, but yeah, it's so it's good. Hang on, let me show you one second.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Did I don't think I even heard of this label before. This indicator label, I don't think I've heard of them before.
Oh, it's and then so you're getting it from Britain. So like this is a Joan Crawford movie called
Oh
Straight
my
Jacket
gosh. I've
that I've
seen that
never
before.
seen. I have never seen it, and so I'm excited to see it. It's Region B. They're not all Region B. They got Region A, Region B. And then look at that. There's nothing about what the movie's about, and this is all special features.
All right, that is
Like-
crazy cool and so weird because I've got the DVD of Mommy Dearest, the Faye Dunaway, starring biopic.
Yeah.
And I'm listening
Playing
to the
Joan
commentary
Crawford,
with John
yeah.
Waters. But
Oh,
wow.
Oh, I didn't know he did the audio commentary for that. Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. I would love to see the features for Straight Jacket, and I saw that on a very low grade website. Before YouTube. I had to find my movies on these low grade those websites. You're not quite sure they play like some porn.
320 or 720, like really bad. Yeah.
People just uploading a bunch of stuff there, and that was on there. So that was very, very cool.
That's cool.
I like that. My rage is nothing really anything major right now. It's nothing to do anything bad. It's probably kind of been the same thing before. I hate these these not requels. Sorry,
prequel, or
not prequels. No, these long sequels to movies. I feel like that's going to be the new trend right now. Instead of superhero movies, we are now going to get these sequels for movies from the past. I know they started mentioning a Goonies reunion.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be doing a Clueless movie reunion. Just that whole trend of taking movies and IPs that were really popular, and
it's very true because they're doing this is Spinal Tap. They're doing a sequel to that.
Yeah,
that'll come out at the end of this year, and it's like hopefully it's a lean, mean 90 minutes like the original. Like, don't put too much into it. Don't put all the takes in it. So those are the things. Yeah, where you just go. Sometimes you just go. Just give me a 2-hour movie. Like, go back to that. Or if you do a long movie, throw in an intermission. Like, let me go to the restroom and come back.
It's like I know they're taking these properties that have been popular and people have been posting them on the social media, and it's beginning so much of a resurgence. I'm fine with fandom events doing re-releases of older movies because I went to see Monty Python and the Holy Grail in theaters, and that was a fun time. And I know they're going to be releasing This Is Spinal Tap in theaters. That's fine. It's just the whole notion of we have to make a sequel, or let's make a sequel that will tie into some new characters. I worry that in Spinal Tap they're going to mentor a new band, and that band is going to have to do stuff and whatnot. So
yeah. It's it's interesting too. Sometimes you're like, leave it alone. It's like you don't remake Casablanca or you don't make a sequel to it because it's good the way it is. You don't touch any of those. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You and I talked how the studio was like, we want you to do a second one. And Robert Redford's like, but we die.
Yes,
the true history is that we die in the movie. And it's but they just want that cash grab.
Yeah, they could have a baby Butch Cassidy and Sundance.
Yeah, which they did with Tom Berenger. They had him and William Catt, and they had a prequel. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy. William Catt from Zapped? That William Catt?
No, that's William. William Catt from The Greatest American Hero and Terry.
Okay.
And
Why did I think that he was teamed up with Scott Baio in that movie?
Because you're thinking of the Charles in Charge.
I am thinking about Charles in Charge.
His buddy. I think his name's either William or his name is Cat, but not William Cat. But yes,
I think you're right. I think I got these guys confused and whatnot.
Yeah.
But too cool. All right. Well, let's do this right now. I'm going to play a quick little ad spot, and
All right.
we will be right back for our audio. For our well, actually, yes, for our YouTube watchers. All right, you are just gonna get our conversation here, but you'll see our faces, and I'm just gonna play just a quick little. So give me 1 second here. All right. See, I'm using Riverside. Here we go. Hey, all right.
We gotta take a short break, but Cinema Recall will be right back after these ad spots.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey, hey.
And Murray.
Yo.
Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your voice is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are Mondo, some are just... Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
feel the rage.
That was an ad spot brought to us by the great gents over at the Film Rage podcast, and I would like to see you on that show sometime, Phillip.
It'd be interesting. Yes, I'm. It's always fun to be on somebody else's show because there's no heavy lifting. You're just like, oh, I watched the movie. Let's talk about it.
So we are here to talk about. Actually, I had something else I was going to play, but
all right.
I'm using the site called Riverside, and it is right there. All right. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to play our quick little ad spot here. All right.
All right.
Get access to episodes early, uncut video footage, and bonus shows by becoming a Patreon member. Go to patreon.com/Cinema Recall Pod, and for just $3 a month, you will help support our independent podcast. Thank you so much, and now back to the show.
All right, Jane, welcome back here to Cinema Recall podcast. We are here today to talk about the movie Barbarella, 1968, directed by Roger Vadim, written by Terry Southern, as well as other people. And I mentioned before, starring Jane Fonda and Marcel Marceau, John Philip Law,
David Hemming.
David Hemming, thank you. I have my notes here for that. Yeah, so before we get into more discussion about the movie itself, I want to hear about your reactions to this movie. When did you first see it, and how many times have you seen it?
So when I first saw it, seems like it was years ago, but then I was looking on my Letterboxd and I had already rated it, and then I re-rated it. So I think it was a couple years ago, or maybe I'd say 5 years ago, maybe more. Before the pandemic, and I watched it and I was like, this is weird, but okay, Jane Fonda's nude, I like it.
Yeah.
And gorgeous. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just like, this is too weird. Like, it's a 60s weirdness. This time though, watching it, for one, on Criterion Channel, they have a whole thing on Terry Southern, like all the things he wrote. He wrote on Easy Rider, and he wrote on the bomb, the
Dr.
Kubrick one.
Love.
Yes. And so that was cool. And then I watched it this time and I got more out of it. I got where like the love, peace and love, like for the 60s, like that was, the thing. And there's that, that lob underneath that's making everybody bad. So yeah, the first time I was like, oh, I don't know, this is too weird. This time watching, I was like, oh, this will make a great double feature with Flash Gordon. Gordon's a better movie, but yeah.
Oh, totally.
And the set decoration is like amazing. Like all the production value, like it. Speaking of John Philip Law, it reminds me of Danger Diabolique. Like that has that cool look to it.
Well, funny you should mention that because Mario Bava was going to be the original director of this movie because
Oh, wow.
producer Dino De Laurentiis made Danger Diabolique, and because he wanted to make that movie before he made Barbarella just to see if he could actually do a comic book adaptation. Because around this time, there hasn't been a lot of comic book adaptations. Because I should mention this too, Barbarella is based on a French comic book by, I had to write this name down, Jean-Claude Forest.
Yeah.
Wrote the comic. And based on this time too, there's only been like a Batman serials and I think maybe Superman serials, but no one's actually made a feature-length comic book because it's not very marketable. And it's hard for these other comic book companies to sign on to this. So a lot of producers, they're looking at comic books from other countries. So Dino De Laurentiis found this comic book of Danger Diabolique and Barbarella, but he wanted to test out Barbarella first, which is great. And I love Danger Diabolique. I think John-Philippe Law does such a great job in that movie, especially with his eyes, which is odd because he's also acted with his eyes in Barbarella as well.
Yeah.
So, but I should mention this too, Philip. What were the names of the other two popular science fiction movies in 1968?
I was gonna look this up too. Dang it! Thanks for reminding me now, because I was trying to figure out like where in the zeitgeist of it, being as we weren't alive then, what was the thing? So 68. I'm thinking, I can't even think for sci-fi. I don't know.
So Barbarella came out in October 11th of 1968, and there were two other movies that came out before this, and these two movies are probably the pinnacle of science fiction movies. We have 2001. Oh, sorry.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, 2001 Space Odyssey and Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes came out like in March.
Yeah.
And then 2001 came out in April. And a lot of people consider 2001 to be like, the monolith, the big bane of science fiction movies.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. Yeah. Well, that and also kind of around there, they were doing weren't the Doctor Who movies coming out at the end of the 60s? But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was too early. Yeah, the Dalek. Anyway. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's too early. I don't know.
They're very close to that.
But yeah, 2001 and Planet of the Apes are like the peak of
Oh, wait. And then you got this, very campy, silly Italian, French U.S. hybrid of Barbarella. And I like the fact too that all the sequences in space are nothing more than just like a little lava lamp. It's like it's the same type of things like putting ink on a spinning wheel and making all the weird effects.
It's also those kaleidoscopes that you would look through and do. It's a little bit of that too. But it is all even the lava under the planet is lava. Wherever she's going is like you're saying, like dropping paint and it just kind of smears and
It's like those little backgrounds you see behind like Jefferson Airplane, all those like kaleidoscope sort of like colors and everything. That's how they did the space sequences for that, which I found to be very cool. So we're going to tell just a little bit about the story. I'm not going to go into like a scene by scene description of the movie.
Right.
All you need to know is that Barbarella herself is this space babe, all right? And I guess she's been hired to find the scientist named Durand Durand, played by Milo O'Shea, and she needs to get back this device that will essentially, control things or
Well, and then they even said they said on one of the on some of the posters or whatever, either for the re-release or back then, it was like she's the female James Bond, which is true. Like the president of the United States comes to her, the president of the earth, and says, I have a mission for you. And she's like, let me get dressed. He's like, no, it's good. Like, let me talk to you. Okay. Special. So she's like special agent, like you said, like
And
yeah.
she's going to find this guy, and each time she gets to meet a new sort of like guy, and it's sort of like twist the trope on the whole James Bond thing because now we got a woman that's going
Yeah.
there and seducing guys, but she's very different. The fact that in the comic book she's very aware of her sexuality, but in the movie, she almost plays it like almost innocently. Like she doesn't know how beautiful she is. And
Yeah, because when that guy's like, "Oh, are all Earth girls like you?" She's like, well, "I'm an average, or whatever," and you're like, you're like, "No, you're like a 10."
Yeah, you're like 100%.
But yeah, it's that thing, and also it's the free love. It's her just being like, it reminds you a little bit of Demolition Man, where they're not having sex, they just put on the mind things. And
Yes.
where the guy's like, well, you know what I want? And she's like, okay, like here's some pills. He's like, no, I want to do it this way. And she's like, those are for poor people.
Yes.
That's for poor people to do. And then he's like, well, that's how we do it. That's what I want. And then after she has it, she's like, oh my gosh. But she also says, I get what they mean by it's distracting. Like now while I'm in my head, like, oh, and then whenever she meets some guy and he's like, you know what I want? She's like, all right, getting ready. And he's like, well, wait, no, I don't want that. Yeah.
Well,
it's great.
And I think the movie sets it up right away with that opening sequence, that whole striptease and zero gravity,
and the cool lettering, the cool title sequence, like Jane Fonda as she shakes her hair out,
I
really cool.
love how they did the title sequences when she got nude so it can like cover up some parts right there.
Yeah.
I thought that was very clever. You can still definitely see that she is like just fully naked.
And from what I read, she was saying like that the director or whatever was like, don't worry, we'll put words in there. And she was worried, like, are you really going to put the, and he did. And she was like, oh, good. Thank you.
Because I know when they shot that sequence, she said on a documentary I watched that she had to be a little bit drunk to do that scene.
Yeah.
And then after they got done shooting it, I guess there was certain footage that couldn't be shot, so they had to reshoot it again. So it was part of her being drunk and hungover when they actually shot the whole zero gravity sequence. But it's all it is, just her on like this glass, and they just moved the room.
Yeah, filmed it from above, and she's moving around, and it looks like she's floating. And speaking of that 2001, that's that thing where forever I was like, how'd they do that floating pin thing? That's the simplest thing. Of the pin is on a piece of glass that they're just moving when that stewardess grabs the pin.
Yeah.
When in the beginning of the movie. And it's just genius. Some of those things are just so smart, of her just laying there spinning around, and you're like, I believe it. I believe you're in zero gravity,
Yeah. So she's like this, space secret agent that's going on this adventure to try to find out where Durand Durand is. And I know that when in the 80s of that big pop band Durand Durand came out, and I know this movie was mentioned before, but I just never made that connection that they were influenced by this. But that's neither here or there.
And that's what's funny, the way they say it in the beginning. When I first saw the movie back in the day, they would say Durand Durand, and I was like, oh, is this what? Because it sounds like Durand Durand, but they're saying Durand Durand, and you're like, oh, but yeah, and then it's just crazy that they were like, oh, that's a good name,
Durand Durand.
But yeah,
so good. And so she goes on this adventure. She crash lands on this ice planet that has like these two creepy twin girls, and they have her travel on this octopus squid creature. To this other
that travels across the ice, and those girls remind me of like Thing 1 and Thing 2, like
from the Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's just right away you're in this weirdness, and like and the voice in her voice in for her computer for her spaceship sounds like Vincent Price. It's
does.
not, but it sounds a lot like Vincent Price. Yeah.
Confirm. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It's great. That creature that they're traveling with, that little squid creature, do you know who designed that?
No, I don't.
That's Carlo Lombardi.
Oh, really?
He did the effects works for E.T. and Close Encounters and Possession.
Yeah. Wow.
That was like one of the first kind of projects that he did. So she is there with all these other like kids, and they have like these really creepy dolls that
Mhm.
attack her.
Like the first time I saw, I'm sorry to interrupt. The
No,
first
please,
time I
no.
saw that, I was like, oh, these dolls. It was silly. This time I'm like, those are kind of terrifying. They're like with the clink, clink, like with the sharp teeth, and they're just, and then they attack her, and that's kind of silly, but it was terrifying. It's like, oh my God, those are really sharp teeth. And the girls are just laughing. The kids are laughing like, oh, this is fun.
And I know
Until,
those dolls were like some of that Mario Bava sort of like co-conceived for this movie when he was going to be doing the movie, and then I just left the project for whatever reason. But she gets saved by, and I wrote this name down here, Ugo. Ugo Targnazi.
Yeah, that guy's good. I like him. Yeah, he's yeah.
And so he's like this sort of like
he's like a collector of children. They said when the children get a certain age, then they go and they capture them and they bring them back. But what's weird is like he's working with those big giant like robot guys that remind me of like The Day the Earth Stood Still, but they're shorter. But he's working with those guys, but they're evil later. Like that's who she's fighting against, but that's who they're collecting these kids with and then taking them, wherever.
Gotcha. Let's do this right now. I'm going to play a quick little radio spot from Barbarella, and we'll get more to our thoughts about this movie.
All right.
Paramount Pictures and Dino De Laurentiis bring you the ultimate comic strip. Jane Fonda as Barbarella. Barbarella, the most beautiful creature of the future. She's inquisitive.
Have you seen an angel anywhere?
Observant.
This is really much too poetic a way to die.
Dangerous.
Armed. Like a naked savage.
Curious.
Where did you get those pills? Only Earth people know of those pills.
Bold.
Could you hand me a garment?
Practical.
Gotta get rid of this tail.
But more than anything else, Barbarella is love. And Jane Fonda is Barbarella. Barbarella. See Barbarella do her thing in Panavision and Technicolor. Directed by Roger Vadim from Paramount Pictures, a Gulf and Western company. Suggested for mature audiences.
The more you show me that Barbarella disc, the more I'm thinking I need to go buy that Arrow disc. But what was cool too, I was going to say about the transfer, I have a sound bar in my bedroom but it was turned off. I'm watching it on Criterion Channel, and it sounds like there's noises over here coming when they're coming down the hall, and noises like it was fully surround. I was like, this is amazing, and this is coming from my regular TV. So this is really good audio, really good video. Yeah.
So the Criterion is playing the 5.1 bits, which is very cool because I know on this Blu-ray it has like the model track as well as like a French model track too, and the French language track has Jane Fonda herself doing her speech and roles in French.
That's what I heard. That's cool. Yeah.
So that's very, very kind of a cool thing. And there's a lot of elements in this movie too where she just goes meets another guy, and the guy kind of saves her from something, and she has to repays them through sets like she kind of does in the comic book. But in the movie, like I said before, she's a little bit more innocent about it. She doesn't quite know. And plus, we should mention too that in this future society, as you mentioned in the intro, the whole connection to Demolition Man is that no one actually has just regular sets. When she meets that first guy with the furs all around him, and she's like, "You saved my life. What can I do?" And he's like, "I'd like to make love to you." And he's like, "Okay, well, here's the pill. I'll take the pill too." And he's like, "I don't understand this. All right, I want to do it the old-fashioned way." What? No one does this. Only poor people.
And what they say is that this took place on the press kit and stuff that would come out. It would say 40,000 years in the future, like the year 40,000 or whatever. Like this is way in the future. but they said the movie never says, so it could take place in any time. But that's how far ahead of it is. And what else is interesting is she was gonna if you really think about it, she was gonna give that guy the pills to do the sex with the pills.
Yeah.
Later, when that other guy has the pills, she said it on the radio spot, like, "Where'd you get those pills? Those are for Earthlings." Like, "Where'd you get them?" And he goes, "Oh, Durand Durand gave them to me." And he goes to use them, and his hand starts smoking and all that stuff. And I'm like, is that because he's not from Earth and he's taking these pills that he shouldn't take that are for humans, from Earthlings? And,
I just represented the smoke as him being like turned on. And that's
and his hair standing straight up. Yeah. And then later he's trying to fix his hair. Yeah.
Visual
He's
representation
hilarious.
of that.
Yeah.
But the whole campiness of this movie is what I love. Like the very first guy that she sleeps with, the guy who's been training all those children in the ice and all the furs, when they go to have sex, he has like this whole fur coat.
Yeah.
And then he takes it off and he's just filled with hair too.
Yeah.
And they have their spaceship just twirl round and round. And those songs that are used in that was from I wrote this down here. That was from a group called Glitter House.
Yeah.
And Glitter House was probably one of the first bands to have like a black singer in an all like white group. And
oh wow!
Everyone at the time, everyone thought that was like,
that's kind of didn't Sly and the Family Stone did that? Didn't they also?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Sly and the Family Stone came out
yeah, that was in the 70s. But yeah, that's really cool.
So
yeah, the music was good. I liked it.
It just had this like funky vibe to it. It was worked out great with that, which I absolutely love. And then after she's sees, and I forgot the Ugo Tazari character. I totally forgot to write down the name of his character. They fix the ship.
Yeah. Does she meet the hot guy first, or does she meet Marcel Marceau, brings him back to the ship? He says he can fix it.
Oh, no. I think she just fixes the ship and then she like kind of dives down.
Oh, right. She leaves him, says goodbye, and then crashes, and then he's like, hey, and then you see, that she went down in there. Yeah.
And I think this is where she meets Pygar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John Phillips Law's character. And they're going to try to find Professor Peen, played by Marcel Marceau, because he knows information about where to find Durand Durand. And then a bunch of those robots, those big black robots that remind you from the day the Earth stood still, they attack, and then Pygar saves her. And Pygar has not been able to fly. He has not found the will to fly. He's blind. And Barbarella's like, well, you take me to your house. Like, you live in a nest? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that each time after, Barbarella has sex, it always shows her like post coitus where she's like
she's
singing.
just like
la,
just
la,
glowing.
Just glowing right there. Oh.
And what else was funny? I always thought Marcel Marceau, the thing that Mel Brooks did was put him in the silent movie to make him talk, to be like, look, I'm being subversive and I'm making a mime talk. But this was the first one to do it, where they put Marcel Marceau, a mime from France, in a movie and made him talk and gave him these eloquent words, to kind of make people go, oh, he's not just a mime,
And honestly,
even though he's dubbed, but yeah.
I had no idea that he was like a mime. I know from doing we'll look upon his actor, but if you didn't know that, you would have no idea that he was a mime. And it's funny too that you do mention like the dubbing, because the guy who had all the hairy chest and everything, the actor on the street is Ugo. Ugo Tarnazi, but he was dubbed by Bernard Grand.
Oh wow, yeah.
Who's like this soap opera actor.
It worked really good because I thought he was saying it. I thought it was his, So yeah, that was good.
So Barbarella is there with Pygar,
So like you were saying, yeah, what you were getting. So she's like again glowing after post coitus, and all of a sudden he's now flying, and she's like, "Oh, you're flying," and it's like really cool. Like he found himself and he found love or whatever he found. Like, but like what he says also that it's a whole commentary on 1968. It's really cool. Is too bad Manson had to fuck it up for everybody.
The whole thing with, like love and people getting together.
The thing of where he's like, angels don't make love, we are love, and it's like, oh wow. And the thing about war, and he's like, that'll cause another war, the president tells her, and she's like, what do you mean? She's like, barbarians like fighting, like he's like, yeah, barbaric, like fight, nobody understands that. And when she goes down in there and all those people are like, there's a person stabbed, they're crucifying people, they're doing, and you're like, holy shit. And what I think it was the mime explains to her, right? Or was it the guy that then it's revealed that that's Durand Durand? Like the town, or no, it's the other guy, David Hemming, that it thrives on the evil. And so when they do evil stuff, the planet rewards them with more oxygen and more food or whatever. And so it's like, oh shit, like that's making everybody kill each other or do whatever. It's crazy.
See, you got into much more deeper territories in this film than I have thought about. And I've seen this film. No, it's absolutely great that you do this because I've seen this film a few times and I'm still very confused a lot by the plot elements. All I know is that Barbarella is a secret agent. She has to find this Durand Durand because he has this deadly weapon that they need to take away from him so he doesn't try to destroy the world. And that's all it really got. And that she meets these different good-looking people, and there's a lot of like sexiness going on. But yeah, the whole element of it being made in the 60s, the whole like peace and love element going on, and people wanting to like get together is a very cool like concept, and it's very legitimate and real and all that good stuff. When after she meets Pygar and talks to Professor Payne, they're going to try to find someone called like the Black Queen, played by, and I write her name down here too, Anita Pallenberg, and she was the girlfriend of Keith Richards at the time.
Oh wow!
And while they were shooting the film, and this is a true story, Keith Richards was on bail for some drug charges, and him and another friend wanted to like go out to where they're shooting the movie, and they did, and they made a cake filled with hashish.
Oh wow, yeah.
And Keith Richards was like, I'm not feeling anything, this buzz's not happening, and then about 2 hours later it kicks in. But a lot of the people in the cast ate the cake, including John Philip Law, who said in an interview that scene of like me like flying around being happy, I did not need to do any preparation for that because I was just already high from shooting that scene.
It reminds me of the thing from Titanic that people dropped acid in there in the soup and stuff, and they were like, "What's going on?" And Bill Paxton talks about how him and James Cameron, actually, I don't think ate it, but other people are tripping. But also reminds me of my dad one time goes to a bar. Somebody goes, "Hey man, here's a pot cookie." Goes, "Don't eat the whole thing." My dad's thinking, I'm 6'3.5". Like, what do I don't care. And he eats the whole thing. I'm a big guy. I can eats the whole thing. And then later he goes, I was fucked up. He's like, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's medical marijuana. This is like heavy duty. So he's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's, but that's that thing too. One time I didn't know how to make pop brownies. And me and my friends thought, let's make pop brownies because I don't want to smoke it. Let's put it. And so we did the grass and everything, didn't make it right. So we're throwing the leaves, everything in there, mixing it up, cooking it. We eat it. I go, this tastes like chocolate grass, but we're still eating it. We shouldn't have, because that shit was so powerful that I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, I can't move. And I go, I think I have to go to the restroom. Like I got to go throw up or something. And they go, well, go. And I go, I can't move. Like my body was not working. And my friend, who she was a pot smoker, she's like, this messed me up. Like I was still stoned the next day. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, be careful. But it's crazy that Keith Richards, somebody like Richard Simmons dies, Keith Richards still going. Like you throw everything into him. He's like, I'm good.
That is so crazy too. I should mention too, like I said before the opening, that this movie is directed by Roger Vadim. Roger made his claim to fame with the movie "And God Created Women," starring Bridget Bardot. And Roger Vadim is one of these directors who notoriously married a lot of like beautiful women. He married Jane Fonda, and I want to say I think Sophia Loren. No, yeah, married Fonda, Bridget Bardot, Anita Strasberg, and he had
Wow.
I guess he had a child with Catherine Deneuve as
Oh,
well.
wow.
And
Yeah.
you looked at the guy and like he looked very much like like the Austin Powers sort of like
Yeah.
guy with like the glasses. Reminds me very much of like Michael Caine playing Austin Powers, like in Austin Powers 3, the father, and like
Yeah.
yeah, him and that.
Well, and what's in it? You probably have it written down, but it now it makes sense why he went to Bardot and said, "Do you want to be in the movie?" And she was like, "I'm done doing the sexy stuff." And he was like, "Okay." And then they said that he went to Sophia Loren,
Yep.
but she was pregnant at the time. I was like, "No, I can't do it." And so
And then
I'm glad that they got Jane Fonda. I like her, and I thought this was the first movie she was naked in. And from what I was reading, they said no, she was naked in stuff before, so she was okay with being naked in this.
yeah,
And that it was her husband she was like, okay, I'll do it.
and I know at this time too, she's trying to like break out of her mold from Beto as like the nice girl,
Yeah.
and all these other romantic comedies, and she just wanted to just do something new and different. And I at first I thought that she would be ashamed of her role in this, like years later.
Yeah.
But the documentary I saw, she says, I saw Barbarella and I enjoy it. It's campy fun. It's
Yeah.
not really sexy. And I'm like, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think you look the best in that movie. Don't get me wrong, you're a good-looking woman, but you were really good-looking in this. Like, this is probably the only movie with Jane Fonda where she was legitimately hot.
Yeah, her eyes are beautiful, like everything, like, and it's just, she was great. Yeah, and that's the thing too, where sometimes you run into that with these old actors who are like, I don't want to talk about whatever movie that they did. And you're like, but some people love this movie. Like we need to, people. And so I do like it when people are like, yeah, I was in that movie. George Clooney might make fun of Return of the Killer Tomatoes or Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But I think he's like, it was fun. We had fun. Same thing with McConaughey being like, yeah, we did a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's like, okay. So.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, good stuff there. And so like I said, where she meets the start about Anita Pallenberg, the Black Queen. Her voice was dubbed by Joan Greenwood, which did I know that Anita Pallenberg was listed as like one of the other legitimate Italian actors in this, and I'm wondering, was this done like a lot of other Italian productions where they have actors speak in their native languages and they just have them dubbed into English?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like a Fistful of Dollars and all that, where they were talking their own language and then they dubbed it later.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't watching her mouth, but what's cool when you first see her, you don't know that that's the Black Queen or whatever she's called. She just like, oh, that was the girl that was like, oh, pretty girl, and she's like, no, I'm not a pretty girl. And then later she's like, oh, I met you. You had the one eye patch, and oh, you're the Black Queen. She's like, yeah.
I love that line of pretty. I love Barbarella always adjusting her ton box. Here, let me adjust my ton box. That's probably my favorite line from there. And then this is where things get kind of confusing in like the plot. So after she meets her, I guess her and Pydar get captured, and she gets trapped up with these birds in the cage. Is that where they capture her and puts her in this little
Yeah,
cage? That have
because
all
then
these.
she goes down the chute to David Hemmings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, they have, don't they have him crucified? And then
Yeah,
they
they
put
do.
her in the thing with all the birds. And at first she's like, "Oh, how cute!" And then they keep going, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And then
Were
falls
those
down. The chute opens.
were those like real like little parakeets they had in there? Because
It looked like little parakeets, and something that I read that I don't find true unless they filmed it and then changed it. But they said that the birds wouldn't attack, so they had to turn on like blowers to blow at her and throw the birds to make them hit her. But I don't see the way it was filmed. It looked chaotic, it looked crazy, and the birds looked semi menacing, and she's in a thing with birds. But I could see where you're going to be like Alfred Hitchcock and like telling Tippi Hedren, don't worry, just come in the door, and there's birds all over.
but
So
because they both seemed
but
they were in the scene, but they also seemed like they were superimposed or whatnot. It was
I think it was a lot of quick cuts to make it like here's some hecticness, and then here's her just standing there. It's like the story. I don't know if you heard Raiders of the Lost Ark. They go, "How many snakes do we need for the Well of Souls to put down there?" And they go, and so Spielberg goes, "Let's get 1,000." So you get 1,000 snakes. It doesn't even fill it up. So they got to get some fake snakes, and then snakes have to be like they don't move. So he goes, "They're not even menacing. They're just laying there." So we're like, oh shit. So it's that thing of like, well, now what do we do to make them look menacing? It's the same thing with the birds. Probably like, well, let's just do quick cuts and have them fly around, and show blood on her, and it'll work.
that's great.
But
Sure,
yeah,
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 all those like old school ways of how they do effects is really just
yeah,
kind of like fascinating because this is all done on a real set. Like
yeah,
all the set designs we mentioned
yeah.
before look
And
amazing.
there's a bunch of different sets. The one is like huge where she goes up, she's looking for Pygar, and she goes all the way up that little tube and comes up there, and he's on the second floor. It also reminded me, I don't know about you, it reminded me of like the Mars scene from Total Recall, like
Oh,
total
sure.
like different world, like, and big sets and everything.
I
Yeah.
got a strong labyrinth vibe from a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The
I
way
could
the whole
see
like
that.
maze and everything like that. But
Yeah.
even this when they're on the section with the Black Queen and going into the underground with Delando, David Hemmings' character, I got a strong Dune vibe, the 1984 Dune, because
Yeah.
I think.
With the like his outfit or just
Well,
other
I mean,
things?
the outfits, the sets, because I know that Dino De Laurentiis also produced Dune,
Right.
and so a lot of the same set designs and costume designs remind me very much of that David Lynch Dune.
And we talked about Flash Gordon. Dino De Laurentiis,
Yeah,
did Flash Gordon. Yeah.
I can see the whole Flash
Yeah.
Gordon represent there too. So,
But
oh my god,
I was just gonna say it was funny with the invisible key. Well, first with him being like, I have those pills, and he's looking for the pills, like that's funny. Like he's like, hang on, I got the pills, and he's looking for them, and she's kind of like, but I want to have sex. And David Hemmings like, wait. And then when he's like, and here's the key, and she goes, well, where is it? And you're thinking it's not there. And then he goes, it's invisible. And then she goes to grab it, and she's like, it's not here. And he's like, oh shit. So now he's got to go look for the key. He's misplacing shit all the time. It's hilarious.
I love that he says it's invisible. Obviously, it's invisible.
Yeah.
Listeners will know David Hemmings because he was in Deep Red, and I know that that's the only movie that I can think of off the top of my head that he was in.
He's in other stuff, and I can't even think. But yeah, I have two versions of Deep Red. I have a Blu-ray and a DVD that I got sent to me. So yeah.
And that one, it's very kind of like serious role, and this one is campy, and I love the fact too that he is the only one that wants to have sets, the
with
pill
the
weight
with the
with
pills,
hands.
yeah.
Hold on, I like to make love to you, and she gets ready to make love. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not a savage. I want to do the pill way. All right.
Yeah.
And when I saw them take the pill and put the hands together, you mentioned this earlier before, it did remind me of the whole scene in Demolition Man
Yeah.
where they have the helmets with Sandra Bullock and
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone, and they're doing the same thing too. And he's
Yeah.
like confused
And he's
about
waiting.
it.
He's like, I thought we were gonna get it on, and she's like, let's put these these things on, and it's like,
So
but yeah.
It's kind of weird and fun to actually see, a male character, not want to have the sense the way that you and I would if we were with
Yeah.
Barbarella, and he's like, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a savage, and those are for poor people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I imagine too that people, because this, I mean, it's suggested for mature audiences, but this movie is like a PG rated movie, but it's like PG back in the late 60s and 70s where they
Yeah.
could actually show like nudity and sexual things. To see like these two characters on screen do this, it's gotta be both very funny and I imagine too a little bit odd and off-putting for audiences at that time. I don't know. It just
Yeah, and the thing of like, what is this movie about? Like my first time watching it was like, what is this? So
Yeah.
this time watching it, I was like, oh, some of it makes sense. The thing of like, we don't want war because peace and love and all that. And so then I'm like, oh, I get it. But I could see going to the theater to see this movie and being like, what the hell? What is this? This is a weird movie. But but yeah, it's I forgot her outfits. She does like outfit change like 7 times or something. My favorite outfit, I like, of course, the one with see-through bra thing, but I like that black one with the stripes, with the straps down the front, connecting her boots to like her blouse outfit. Like it's white and black. It's really cool. It's like one of the 3rd or 4th outfits she has. Really neat.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I is it okay, is it I pulled this on my phone here. If you can see this,
Okay.
well, let me see if I can is it this one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it's
okay.
so fucking cool. Like it just looks great. Like, oh yeah,
That's another good one right there.
yeah.
And then, okay, so after she gets, I don't even know how. Okay, so after they have their situation, they get interrupted by one of his assistants, and then I totally forget. But a bunch of stuff happens where she does try to escape to try to find Pygar, and then she meets a bunch of these women hanging out, just smoking.
Yeah, like,
So-
and then like hiding with them. That guy is in the bong.
Yeah, let me explain this, all right, for listeners out there or watchers.
Yeah.
So she goes to find where Pygar is, and she meets a group of these women, and they're smoking a hookah. But it's a hookah that has like this man in the hookah.
Man,
and they're all
essence,
taking
they say, yeah.
totes out of it. She goes to one girl, and she's like, Barbara's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "We're smoking essence of man." Essence of man? And they all take little totes of it. And then Durand Durand shows up and says, "Come with me." All right. And they put her in probably my favorite moment in this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
It's sexy. That's probably why you like it. But also it's
That's
crazy.
That's very funny.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's funny. It's the thing of I didn't mean anything by it. I love
no,
boobs.
sexy's good too.
That's why I love the opening.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and this will be death by ecstasy, and so much that you're gonna die. And he's playing like a piano, and the whole thing is moving like accordion style, something like weird, like waves. And she like gets sucked in a little bit, and then her head will come out, and she'll be like, oh my god. And then she's sweating and perspiring, and like, oh my god. And then all of a sudden he's like, starts smoking and the wires. And did you hear what he says? Although it's the 60s and they used to say those things, but he's like, you made the wires shrink, now they're faggots, is what he said, or now they're fags.
Oh,
and yeah. And she's like, I swear that's what he said. If I'm wrong, everybody let me know. But she broke the machine, and she's still like, because she's so sexual,
I think I listened to there's a commentary track and I what's his name here by Tim Lucas. There's a commentary track by Tim Lucas, and he
Tim
talks
Lucas
about that
always good.
sequence on there. And
Yeah.
Durand Durand say the words, you ruined my machine. You turned them into like faggots. Well, that was a term when wires were ruined in like
Oh, really?
in like the
Oh,
60s or 70s. So it's like
'Cause
a little like
I
slang term for that, and it had
I
nothing
knew
to
of.
do.
Okay, I thought because they got shrunk and they're like not attracted to women is what I was thinking of.
Well,
But but that's interesting. I just learned something because I thought I knew of the British term of like, hey, give me a fag, like a cigarette is
Yeah.
a fag, and I never knew that. So now I learned something. Look
I
at that.
believe listen to the commentary on the 4K
Yeah.
disc. That's what it kind of
Yeah.
talks about on there. But I
Yeah.
do like sort of like the that is a very hateful word and everything like that too.
Yeah.
We're not condoning anything like that at all.
Right.
But
Right.
even if you look at it from them saying that word, I mean, here
Yeah.
is like a lot of the men in this movie are. I feel like they're a little bit repressed as well. So
Yeah.
him saying that is
Yeah.
almost like saying like you made them impotent or something like that. And I'm not saying that.
That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting with that is had she met all these guys and done the pill with them to have sex with, that machine might have killed her. But being as she had sex with the first guy, the hairy guy, and then had sex with, Pygar, now she's like, okay. And now when you put her in the machine, she's like, I'm ready. And she, where before, if she didn't have any of that ecstasy, she might have died from it,
Exactly.
just in a thing.
She used her sexual powers to overcome
Yeah.
the system in the way. Like
Yeah,
that machine
yeah,
represents the sort of like moral majority of how they think that sex should be. So Durand Durand is thinking that I'm going to use like pleasure to control her because obviously he does not know that Barbarella has been having regular sex. So he thinks that she's going to be overwhelmed by all this like pleasure that is going to destroy her. But he doesn't know that she now has the power of the pussy to control and destroy everything too. And what I was mentioned earlier too about him using the word like you turn them all into like fades and everything like that there too. That's supposed to represent like his own not knowing things and his own I would say complexity, but his own hatred of like other people. And I'm not saying that gay people are not impotent or anything like that. They're too
right. But exactly. But also in a way, it's him being. I mean, maybe she's in her 20s, but she's like, I thought you were 25, and he's like, that's what this is. So he's still young in his head, but he's old looking because of the planet.
Yeah.
And so it's him just being ignorant, but also all that stuff.
And a lot of this has to do, especially how people were trying to view like comic books, back in the day. Because after World War II, there's a big kind of like crackdown with the whole comics code about what you can show, and people sort of like hesitance towards sex. And I think what this movie is trying to do is also like showing that hey, sex can be funny and silly and strange. And I think what Durand Durand and other people are trying to do is that they want to try to like control sex, and it has to be only from like a male,
it's almost like
perception.
It's almost like what was that movie with Christian Bale in the future? Starts with an E.
Equilibrium.
But Equilibrium, where you can't have any thought, no feelings. They want no feelings. They want none of that.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to rule this planet, but also he's trying to rule down there where everybody's violent. And that's the other thing they're commenting on. Violence is okay, but sex is not okay. You need to take pills and do the sex that way. But violence, we can kill somebody in the street. That one girl was stabbed and dead, when they first showed up down there. And, all that stuff.
And also, too, I believe that, through like Durand Durand and a few other guys, they also tried to, paint the Black Queen, they need a Pallenberg character as being like the main villain, and that's
Yeah.
what I kind of thought when watching this, because you thought she's going to go there to save Durand Durand, get this weapon
Yeah,
back,
and
because
fight.
maybe Durand Durand does not know that the weapon that he has is going to be causing harm. But no, Durand Durand is actually our main villain. So she thinks that she's going there to save this guy, but in reality he's actually the mean guy. And then this Black Queen is supposed to be this bad person, which I guess she is. She does try to like take advantage of Pygar because she's a little bit jealous that Barbarella got to her first, which is odd because in the comic book, Barbarella and Pygar, they never get together. In fact,
Wow.
the Delando character, the David Hemmings part, in the comic book, they're much more of like sort of like a team.
That makes sense. Like he's fighting for like a revolution and she's like on a mission. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they're more involved in the comic books right there.
It's also that part where then he takes her. So now he's got her out of the machine. She said, "Give me some clothes, give me some boots." He gives her that, and then he takes her over to the and she's like, "Oh, it's an invisible wall," and then he traps her in there. And now he's like, "Now I can be king and I can be crowned and everything." And then, like you said, that's what's cool. They do that flip of now the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And I do not know how they're able to stop Duran Duran from using that machine. He does use the machine. He is like blasted people, and he does kill a few other people. But something happens in the movie where they're able to stop him, I guess. I don't even know how the hell they got Pygar away. I know they do, but I feel like there's something in there that which I'm
it's where for one, it's like David Hemmings. It's kind of like Flash Gordon in a way. David Hemmings, all of a sudden at the end, remember they're like we want we're being it's all being destroyed. However they word it, it's being destroyed something, and then he's kind of like, "Yay, we're doing," and it's like, no, they're winning. It's it's a slaughter, and it's one of those like, "Oh, great, that's a spirit," and it's like, no, it's a slaughter on us. And that's where David Hemming is like, all those flying ships are being shot down and the robots are being killed. But I forget how the girls get out. Oh yeah, that bubble surrounds them and they float out and whatever.
That was that, okay.
yeah. And then and then Pygar grabs him and is like, and it's again another thing of love there at the end when he's flying and he's holding both of them and she's like, "Why are you saving her?" And he goes, "Angels have no memory." And you're like, okay, like love everybody, like forget,
Well, because you realize that, hey, people can change.
Yeah.
And, there probably was good in the Black Queen. Black Queen was doing what she did, survive, and, she won a hot blonde angel to screw around with. Hey, why not? They're both beautiful girls. So, hey, Pygar is the winner in this movie. All right. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Leaves with both Barbarella and the Black Queen
and
to
her.
his nest. And even though we can't see them, but hey, he's love. I guess he doesn't care. He's very innocent. And I love that so much. One thing I want to you mentioned as I kind of looked through my notes on this is that earlier in the spaceship, and I can't believe we did not talk about this, but I love Barbarella's spaceship with all the
shag carpeting and
everywhere. There is a piece of artwork that is on there, and it's a famous artwork. It's supposed to be like a sunny day in New York. I do apologize.
I think I heard that. Yeah.
I did read, but you can see this really famous art piece in Barbarella's spaceship. And I was listening to the commentary from Tim Lucas, and I think he mentions on there that it's supposed to represent the sort of a connection between comic books and artwork, because that art piece they mentioned was illustrated the same way that comic books were done back in the day with a bunch of dots.
Oh wow, yeah.
and it's supposed to be sort of like a visual representation that this is an adaptation of a comic book, but we're going to make an art like this piece of artwork use the same stylistic drawings of comic book to make the
Yeah.
artwork the way it is. So I thought that was
Especially back then, it took a while where people were like, "Oh, comic book is just meaningless stuff," and didn't understand the artwork of it. You know, it's like I have a Killing Joke. I have that like a hardbound thing, and it's really like done some good. At the end, it's got Alex Ross, some drawings by him. It's really cool. But yeah, that's a cool comment on that. It's cool that then Dino De Laurentiis for a long time wanted to remake this. It was going to be like Drew Barrymore. It was going to be, I forget who the other person is. Now, hopefully Edgar Wright or whoever will do it with Sydney Sweeney.
Yes.
Because that'll be cool.
That would
and,
be,
you know.
And I like the fact that you have Edgar Wright directing this because I want to have the same campiness vibe to it. And I don't want it to take itself seriously. And I love that Sydney Sweeney is doing this movie. I think she's going to be producing it as well. Because Sydney Sweeney knows that she is a very, very attractive, good-looking woman with an incredible body.
Yeah, she
so
could. She'll
she's
lean
like,
into it. Yeah,
go into the whole vibe of it, and maybe. Because I know there's all this talk right now about people being like afraid of showing nudity and the whole thing with what we call here
the intimate special. You had the girl on your show that was like, sometimes it's annoying because you just want to get into it and be like, here's where I am, here's where you are, let's just do the sex scene. And then there's this intimacy coordinator that comes in and goes, okay, well, now you can touch your boobs, but you can't do that. You can't do it. It's like, just come on, let us work. Let us do like they used to do back in the day. Like, we're at a better place now where you can have those conversations. It's like the jokes on those. It's always like the guy will apologize. If I get turned on, I'm sorry. If I don't get turned on, I'm sorry. Like, those things. Yeah.
100%
So,
But I think that C3 always like seems to have a good sense of humor about herself, so I think she can tap into the same sort of like zany wackiness of this. And I know that this will probably be a remake that a lot of people will not like. Some people will just say it's sexist. Just like I know a lot of people, when they look at this movie, they're gonna just think that it's just a movie that just shows like TNA. But it's a whole sort of like pop art sensibilities that this movie has. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, and I like the fact very much that Barbarella throughout the whole movie is very much in control of her sexuality and what she wants. And people can claim that she was being manipulated by these a few guys, but you have to imagine too that in this future society she hasn't had really any type of like sex at all until recently. And she used that power to overthrow the whole patriarchy of the male society.
And like you said, this movie would be different had she like stood against it. Then you'd be like, oh, she's against it because she feels uncomfortable, but it's better that she's like, yeah, it's a movie I did and I'm proud of it.
Exactly.
And it's cool. And the thing with Edgar Wright is like just a couple of months ago, he finished The Running Man. So that'll be coming out. So hopefully that'll be like, some fun, campiness, done in a good way.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very much.
So,
so if you had to like grade Barbarella,
I did.
Out of
on a letterbox scale.
No, we're gonna
1 to 5.
do it on a scale of orgasmatrons or that orgasma thing that they have.
Orgasma machine. Yeah.
How would you rate it?
Oh, on a, what is that? 1 to 10 or?
We'll do like 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Okay. I would give it 3. Okay. 3 orgasmatrons. I was gonna go 3.5 because this time I did get more out of it. But also then like a 3.5 movie would be like, something I can't even explain what a 3.5 movie is like, I don't know, like you and I did Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. I think we give it 4.
Sure.
So it's like, so I'm thinking Barbarella is above average. So it's not just average 2.5, it's 3. So,
I like that.
But I could see me watching it again and being like, oh, like I said, seeing your 4K, I'm like, I'm tempted to get that now. Like I need.
The 4K is good. A lot of the special features. There's actually is a 2-hour long podcast episode with Tim Lucas and a guy who knows about comic books, and they go into the history of like the creator of Barbarella and the whole like French comic books, which I have not watched yet because it's over 2 hours. Then there's like all the interviews they have. It's of the relatives of the people who made the movie.
Oh wow!
And so they have like Ugo Tazari, the hairy guy. They have his son. Talk about his father, or they'll have like a director of photography. They had the second assistant, puller for that sequence, and they're good, but they're just like a little bit long, so I didn't get a chance to watch them because over an hour of someone talking. I'm like, you could just combine this all into like a short little 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The commentary from Tim Lucas, I said, on the disc itself is a lot of fun because he's the guy that found all the stories about Keith Richards and other things.
That's
and
cool.
Terry Southern, we didn't really talk about much here. Talk about Terry Southern doing Doctor Strangelove and Easy Rider. He did another movie called Candy, which I watched not too long ago, which came out, I think, a few months before this. But Candy, her character is a woman that doesn't know that she is attractive, and she changes a lot of the political landscapes with all these other people involved in her life, and she ruins a bunch of people's. It's crazy, weird. It's like this fun, odd sexploitation movie that I've seen on Tubi. So
I think I have it saved on my Tubi. What Terry Southern's son said though was that Buck Henry came in and wrote the script from Terry Southern's book called Candy.
Yeah, that's it.
And he wrote the script without reading the book. He just wrote the script. So Terry Southern was a little upset that it wasn't exactly like his book.
Yeah.
But then what was cool was Peter Sellers was a fan of the Magic Christian and would give that to friends and family all the time. Like, you need to read this book or read this book. So then when they were ready to do Dr. Strangelove, he brings Terry Southern on. And then also he does the Magic Christian, Peter Sellers does. And so it's like, oh, that's cool. And, Terry Southern was able to write it. But then they were saying as he went, he didn't write, he just kind of was in this thing. He wasn't writing like special things anymore, or whatever. And then he got kind of screwed on the deal with, Easy Rider, where he got paid $5,000 when he's making $100,000 to write movies before. And then they go, do you want to do this? He goes, cool. $5,000 they pay him. He writes it. And then they go off and sell it to Columbia, and he doesn't get any money from it. It's like,
Crazy.
But there's a whole thing on the Criterion channel about, like a 15-minute documentary on him. It's really cool.
Well, very cool.
And
I will definitely look at that one when I have a chance to. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I would give my quick scores. I'm giving Barbarella. I'm going a little higher there. I'm going to go like 3.5 stars. I
can see that.
It almost became like a 4-star movie because I do enjoy this for like the weird campiness. It's a fun 60s movie that is just great. I don't know. Yeah. Am I being biased because I like Jane Fonda wearing stupid outfits? I probably am. But I just enjoy the hell out of the music.
The music, it looks beautiful. It's that thing of, you watch it, I think you got to watch it a couple times.
Sure.
If everybody watches it the first time, you're going to go, oh, what the hell? So if you're up for it, maybe take a little bit of time and then go watch it again. And now you'll be like, oh, now the story's kind of making sense,
It's one of those movies that I imagine would play better in a theater.
Yeah.
With a bunch of people laughing all the craziness of it.
That's the problem that I've had recently. When I watch a show for my podcast or like this one, like for yours, I'm just watching it by myself. My wife's asleep. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch a spaghetti Western. I put it on, I watch it. So it's just me.
Yeah.
But if you had like a friend of yours, if you and I are sitting on the couch watching Barbarella, we're going to elbow in each other. Like it's going to be a great time, you know? So that's where it's, that's what sucks about like me, just like I'm here, I don't really have friends to like, hey, come over, we got 8 dogs, the dogs go crazy for an hour and a half until we can calm them down.
Oh, sure.
So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So but yeah, that's that thing with, you know, sometimes you watch a good movie, or you might have got more out of it had I watched it with you. I might have been like, yeah, 3.5, like all the way, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
yeah.
And plus, you have to be, be a fan of like the campiness and silliness. Like, don't go into Barbarella taking
Right.
everything
Right.
seriously. All right.
Yeah.
And if you're one
Yeah.
of those audience members that can't enjoy a movie for its camp value, then it's not going to be for you. And hey, that's nothing wrong with that. I know
Yeah.
certain friends that I can't show them certain movies because they're going to be like, this is just way too silly. And 'cause they look at movies as just being like a real thing, you know?
Yeah. It's this thing. Well, and that's what's interesting. When you said a long time ago, you were like, you want to do Barbarella. And I was like, and I think I even wrote, like, I don't much care for the movie, but I'll do it. I have stuff to say about it.
Okay.
And then I watched it this morning and I'm like, no, what was I thinking? This is really fun. Like, this is cool, you know? So, you know, I had a hell of a time when I thought like, oh, I'm going to give it 1 star. I'm going to give it, 2. No, it's 3.5, 3. Like,
Sure.
yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah.
I love that.
It's awesome.
Before we do go, Philip, please just tell everyone out there about Quentin Tarantino, and also just tell me about any new episodes you have coming up.
I have. Well, this will be coming out in June. So let me tell you what's coming out. Making Tarantino, the podcast, is a podcast that I do about movies that Quentin Tarantino, damn, that was a mouthful, Quentin Tarantino likes or recommends as well. And we did some of the ones that he did, but the movies he likes and recommends, there's like a whole big list of like 600. I don't know. I have a lot. It's going to take till I'm 62 or something. And so we go through those movies and I treat them more like as if you and I were walking out of the theater and we're talking about like, oh, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid or whatever. Where it's not like I've had other people on other podcasts who are like, no, it's minuscule. Like, no, I watched the movie 4 times and then I do all this research and I write this and I write that. No, I write some stuff. But anyway, coming up on May 16th was Guns for Dollars, aka Deep West, aka They Call Me Hallelujah. On May 23rd is Sonatine. Have you seen that with Beat Takashi?
I've never heard of Sonatine before.
That's with the Jen. It was on, you have the Rolling Thunders Pictures, the Switchblade Sisters.
Yeah.
It was one of those. Quentin put it out as a
did.
Rolling
I
Thunder.
did not know that.
Yeah. And The Big Sleep with your girl Kaylee from Once Over with Kaylee, doing that on
with the
original. The original, yeah.
Oh, no, okay.
On May 30th. Game of Death, who I don't have anybody for yet, for June 6th. Slaughter, I'm only going to finish out in June. I'm going to keep going, but this is what I have written. So I do a randomizer to pick what movie out of my list. And so this is what came up. So then I got to get people for these. But doing Slaughter on June 13th. Slaughter's a blaxploitation movie. And Enter the Void with Eric in June 20th, which I've never seen.
Gaspar Noé movie?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm excited to see.
Oh.
And used Cars on June 27th.
A great list.
So, it's fun with the randomizer because then I'm like, okay, like, and then I have a Patreon called Phil on Cinema, and it was like I was just doing Shaping Scorsese, like kind of like the Tarantino thing, like do a Scorsese movie and one that it was influenced that movie. And so I was doing that, and then I go, I want to do other things. So I changed the name to Phil on Cinema, and I did like Zora the Gay Blade. I did a review on that. I put up press kits, like scans of press kits and stuff, and I put up there. And you get 2 episodes a month for $5 a month. So, and the press kit stuff. So it's cool. So why wouldn't you sign up?
I love that.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to have you on for the. We'll talk about it after we get done recording, but for the physical media collecting that I'm doing right now with
Oh,
everybody, it's
sure.
very fun. Yeah,
I love that. And
yeah,
I'll post links to your Patreon, your shows,
yeah.
all of our show notes there. So please check out Mason Tarantino. He's really good. He's really active on social media, which is great, interacting with other movie fans, and it's a lot of fun. So be sure to
Oh,
check that out.
speaking of, you forgot to read Jalon's thing on
Oh,
your Twitter.
You're right. Good.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! On top of everything, there. Yes. Jay Lancella from Women in Session. Because I did pull it out to social media about what people thought about Barbarella, and I'm gonna pull that up right now. She says, "Weird, a bit on the blood side, but very hot." So thank you for that. And I don't think I had any comments on my Facebook because I only just I don't think I have anything on here.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was where sometimes I put stuff, I put it up on the Saturday after my new show comes out. I'll put up like, what do you think of this movie? And sometimes it's a movie like They Call Me Hallelujah that not only 2 people commented on. Like, there's people who don't know much about the movie, or people are like, Barbarella, I'm not even going to waste my time, or whatever, different movies, or things like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. You and I had a whole bunch of people writing about it.
Yeah, and I know it was kind of late on putting out the announcement of when I was going to be recording
Yeah.
Barbarella because I get sidetracked on other things too. Like I know, like on the YouTube, I was recently on Once Over with Kaylee talking about Swiss Army Man, so that's gonna be available.
Cool.
And I'm also gonna have Kaylee back on Cinema Recall doing her Deserted Island picks, which means I gotta get you back on the show to do your Desert Island picks. In fact, oh boy, I don't know if I have time right now to do that because I gotta get ready for work soon. But you're available most weekday mornings, right?
Yeah, I'm the wife's working days now, and I just got her schedule, so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Of like what days, and then we can do our thing. But that'll be that was cool. Yeah, her thing. I told you on our show, on the show that you did with me, that I wrote her because on your thing about like favorite movies, she said Throne of Blood was her favorite, and it's coming out with a 4K. So I shared her like, oh, here's a 4K, and she was like, oh my God, it's so cool.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
I'll also be sure I'm also going to be a guest person on the Science Fiction Remnant podcast, talking about the film Maiden, aka Mithrigan. So look for that. That should be available. Also check out my podcast appearances on Forgotten Filmcast, talking about this world, the fireworks. I have an episode coming out next week where Todd from Forgotten Filmcast and Donnie from Cage's Kiss, as well as Cam Sully from Jet Tip Reviews, we talk about our favorite ensemble films. So look for that as well. We are going to be joining a whole new podcast hosted site called Spreaker, which
I've heard of them.
Watch this.
Yeah.
We're gonna have episodes up on the YouTube, and then we're gonna do new hosting sites just so I can track channels better. But we've been on hiatus, and we're only gonna be kind of recording episodes that I feel are good. I'm not going to be releasing episodes every week. Sometimes it's going to be 2 weeks. Sometimes it may be a month or so. But I will be posting things over on the Instagram and the Twitter sphere and Facebook about movies. I've got written reviews over on our website, cinemarecall.net. So look for that as well. It's just that with a lot of things in my schedule, I just don't have a chance to, do the episodes for Cinema Recall. But I'll most likely be on other podcasts talking about movies and whatnot, or YouTube shows. So yeah, but
there's that, but also back in 2010 and whenever I was doing my own podcast, and I would have it where I would just bullshit with my friends, and they never brought anything to the table. I was like, come on, like bring me some weird news stories, and they wouldn't. And I would always tell the wife, oh, I got to do this. I got to put out a show every week. And she was like, quality over quantity. And I was like, you're right. So that's the thing. Like with you, like, yeah, you can't just go, well, I'll just, I'm going to watch Gone in 60 Seconds and I'll talk about it for 30 minutes, No, like, focus and be, something really great or something, whatever. Yeah.
That's why I like doing like Letterboxd reviews. So find us on Letterboxd. Find us on the social media channels there. I love interacting with all the other movie fans and all the good stuff. Phillip, thank you so much for having us on the show. Just tell us where we can find you online for
wherever you get your podcast. It's Making Tarantino the podcast. You can go on Facebook and then also on Facebook there's Phil on Cinema. There's a page there. And then Twitter, X, I still call it Twitter, and that's under Making Tarantino the podcast. So it's all out there.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see ya.
Yes.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you.
Yes. Goodbye.